y'all, this is Cash the Composer, and it's time for you to choose what my next project is going to be. I've started this channel for the express purpose of chronicling my next project, so y'all can see a musical's journey from conception to production. You can hear more about how I came to that conclusion in another video, which I'll link somewhere, I'm sure. It only makes sense for the initial idea to be chosen right here by all y'all. My niche is pretty particular: horror with an unhappy ending with a flawed female protagonist. If you want to hear how I came to that conclusion, well, there's another video on that again, I'll link somewhere. I don't really know how to YouTube yet. I'll figure it out as I go along. Anyhow, there are luckily a lot of stories that fit this idea. First off, let's get this out of the way. I really don't want to do an original thing just yet. There's a lot of reasons, but the biggest is that it would likely be a lot less interesting to share that experience with y'all than something that we'll all be able to discover together. Yes, we're gonna do an adaptation. So these 5 ideas are presented in no particular order, and down in the description below is a link for you to vote on your favorite proposal. Our first idea is the same idea several other playwrights have had recently, as it just recently came into the public domain, I believe this year. That's right, it's The Great Gatsby. But Cash, I hear you cry, that's not a horror story, and it certainly doesn't star a woman. To which I respond, have you read it since high school? Gatsby is not the main character. And Nick? Well, Nick is just the lens through which the audience gets to observe the story. Daisy is the true protagonist. After all, spoiler alert, she is the reason for everything that happens, down to every injury and death. Functionally, a single mother with an emotionally distant and abusive, unfaithful husband, and an overeager, shady guy that seduces her into an affair under false pretenses, then accidentally killing a woman, her unfaithful husband's mistress no less, resulting in the murder of her lover at her husband's request, the husband who still has her under his control with no way out. That green light at the end is not the longing for Gatsby, it's the longing for freedom. And if that's not horrific enough for you, well, I would pick Cthulhu in Gatsby's Pool. You see, F. Scott Fitzgerald and H.P. Lovecraft were contemporaries, and their works actually acted as social commentary that harmonizes conceptually. The absurdity of eldritch horror would add yet another layer to the convolutions of Gatsby, and I'd love to experiment with that on the stage. And, I mean, come on. Who doesn't want to build a giant animatronic tentacled abomination? On to our next idea, which is A Lesbian's Dream. Literally. It's Carmilla. If you don't know this story, go give it a read. Before Stoker's Dracula, albeit after Polidori's Vampire, came this story from Sheridan Le Fanu. I'm probably butchering their name, my bad. Thickly drenched in gay subtext, supertext, and straight up text, except not straight because it's gay as hell. Actually, that'd be a great catchline for the show. Vampires. Gay as hell. Anyways, I don't think I need to say much else about this idea, except that I'd likely modernize it and jazz it up a little. Maybe with some, I don't know, jazz. Alright, moving on. We have my favorite fairy tale, Snow White. As a pale girl who burns when I even think about going outside, she's always been my favorite of the Disney princesses, but I have always truly loved her original fairy tale. I hated that she got the short straw in Sometimes Into the Woods, and always wished that he'd gone a little more into her story, and ditto for Sleeping Beauty. You see where this is going. I'd love to explore these two classic tales in an abstract setting, with a whole act taking place in their dreams. My God, can you imagine? It would be ridiculous to plot out totally strange concept, similar to like Merrily We Roll Along or Fun Home. It'd be something that hasn't been done on the stage before, at least not that I'm aware of. It would rely on a strong execution to really work, but it could end up being a hit if I nail it with the right creative team. And if you have to ask me how their stories qualify as horror, well, look no further than their original versions by the Brothers Grimm. Jesus H. Christ on a stick, that's some up stuff. Next up is a more tangible, albeit more divisive option. The story of the world's most famous serial killer, Jack the Ripper. Well, not really his story, no. I'd like to tell the story of his victims, the women of Whitechapel, unfairly targeted and mercilessly murdered by a man who has never been identified nor brought to justice. At least, not publicly. You see, serial killers like old Jackie don't just stop, they have to be stopped. whether that's by law enforcement officers, prison, illness, injury, or death. You see, I have a crazy theory that those vigilantes weren't the only ones that were taking matters in their own hands. I think women had something to do with the end of the killer's reign of terror, and I'd like to explore that possibility in song, because what makes a better musical than murder? Speaking of, I have another serial killer whose story I'd like to tell. This one, the story of the actual killer, not her victims. That's right, her victims. America's first female serial killer, Lavinia Fisher. Yay, empowerment! Her story is full of interesting little anecdotes. Essentially, she poisoned the guests who came to her hotel and robbed and killed them. After being caught and sentenced to death, she learned of a law that a married woman could not be hanged, so she wore her wedding dress to the gallows. But when no man proposed, instead of letting her jailers kill her, she jumped to her death. This final story is a special request by my mother, from a couple of years ago, albeit I'm really bad at actually addressing special requests in a timely manner. Anyways, I thought it only fitting I include it here since my last idea came from my father. Another important fact about this particular story, it took place right here where I live in my hometown of Charleston, South Carolina. We also had pirates, but I'm less interested in high seas stakes than I am in murderous women, if that wasn't already obvious. There are your 5 choices: Gatsby, Cthulhu, Thing, Carmilla, Snow White, Sleeping Beauty, Dream Sequence Thing, The Horrors of Whitechapel, and Lavinia Fisher. Linked in the description below is a Google Forms survey where you can vote on your choice for my new project that will be chronicled here on YouTube. Voting will close in 1 week on January 8th, so go ahead and get your votes in now. If you would like to see more of my content and follow along as I write and produce one of these 5 musicals, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to be notified when my next video hits. If you're an impatient bastard like I am and you hate waiting 2 weeks for the drop of a 10-minute video, I have good news! I have a Patreon account where I already have over 50 posts of content for you to browse until my next video comes out, and I will be posting all videos meant for this channel several days early, exclusively on Patreon for my followers there. If you want to support my efforts, click on over to my Patreon, where as little as $1 a month goes towards making this project, this musical, this dream happen. Alright, thank you all so much for watching. See y'all next time. Bye-bye!